wanted to now ask Craig Stone from Washington State DOT to speak.
So again, thank you for the opportunity to come here. Hopefully I can provide you some information that you can use and you deliberate. We'll move up the West Coast a little bit to Seattle, and I'm with the actual Department of Transportation there, and we've taken this on. It's been interesting to hear about Connecticut and some of your history, so I wanted to put this slide in. Somewhat similar to your experience, we have a legacy of tolls. We've built 14 bridges across the Columbia River into Oregon, as also around Puget Sound. But the last tolls came off in the late 70s. And so we've really now got a generation since we've had tolls in the state. And we're a West Coast state, interstate program came in, freeway should be free, things of that nature. Also, we have a lot of public land, so we get 90% federal dollars for a while, so things were going really good. The thing is, the federal program is really not there anymore. And our legislature started thinking about how do we move forward. And the top right corner is a picture of the first Tacoma Narrows Bridge project. And we came back in 2007, and we've now have a twin structure going across Tacoma Narrows, across Puget Sound. And one of those bridges then opened up in July of 2007 with open road tolling. So about 3/4 of the vehicles going across there just have what we call a good to go pass. They just in their windshield. And that's for the commuters. And we have 6 toll booths for the people who are infrequent users to go through that. We designed it that way because we were designing this about 10 to 15 years ago, and that's where technology was at that time. If we were to do that today, we would not put those toll booths in. But that bridge is all about money. Build the bridge, pay it off, tolls go away. It saved public about 36 to 40 minutes on their trips just by putting it in. What happened in the middle project then, 167 hot lane, somewhat similar to what you heard earlier. We took an HOV lane as a 4-year pilot. Our legislature said, we'll let you test it, and then if it doesn't work, we'll take it out. So that was fair to go forward. We're now beyond 4 years, as you notice. We haven't made it permanent yet, but we're out to 2015 with it. And it's all about managing traffic. There's no debt against that project. It's all about getting more throughput, more people, better performance of that corridor in an area. And so we've done that, and we've met every objective from that corridor. And then the one on the right, we just opened up in December of 2011. It's a world's longest floating bridge, so it's kind of unique. It actually floats on the water. It's really a major corridor for us between Seattle and the Bellevue and the high-tech area of Microsoft, Nintendo, and others. And 4-lane bridge needed to be replaced. And so we're replacing that corridor. It's over a $4 billion program, and basically 5:30 in the morning on December 29, 2011, a free flow, not free flow, it's congested, believe me, stop and go type facility, but no tolls, went to full tolling. And we went forward with that, and we actually did it to have variable tolling on it to try and manage traffic a little bit. It's $3.50 during the peak, $1.60 during the evening hours. They did it to manage traffic. It's pretty much free flow across that bridge now, but we also did it to raise $1 billion to generate, to go back into that reconstruction. So we now have really a mosaic of 3 different ways of applying tolling. And I just want to talk about a couple of them that we have. But before I do that, whenever I'm asked to speak, there's a couple things I think is really important. I think it works here. What's the framework that the legislature has put in place regarding pricing and tolling and what could be used? And we had some good, I think, great leadership that came in and said, before we actually put a project before the legislature, we're going to put a toll policy bill in. We're going to talk about how do we want to do tolling in this new century. And with that, it talked about if it can contribute revenue and if it can manage traffic. And those are the 2 purposes we have out there. We have other people who think tolling is great because it can help you with your modal split. You can actually move people from cars to transit. And there's other people, we're a big greenhouse gas state. I have a mayor of Seattle, a governor who wants to reduce greenhouse gases, and they see this also as a great tool for that. But this is what the legislature has put in place. Also, as you read down there, you can see toll authority. The legislature has to pass a bill to put a toll on a facility. They have to define the parameters of it. They then give to the Transportation Commission, which is a 7-member board appointed by the governor, to actually set the toll rates. They also set our ferry rates for us also for our ferry system. And then the Department of Transportation, so myself and my team, we plan, we implement, we operate then those facilities. So we've divided those roles and responsibilities up, and it's working pretty well for us going forward. Well, what is our network? I talked about the 3 facilities that we have in place. They're highlighted here. The legislature also has authorized these facilities on what we call Interstate 405. It's a beltway around Seattle. We're very north-south. We're very constrained by water. And we have a viaduct that we're replacing with a tunnel. Those are facilities that are authorized, and they've asked us to study additional facilities. Basically, new capacity is going to have some tolling on it, and we have HOV lanes, about 300 miles of HOV lanes. We're looking to move those over to express toll lanes. We think we can get more people, more transit, more van pools, and better utilization out of that system if we can. So San Diego's gone to a part of our plan like that. I know the Bay Area and San Francisco has a plan. This effectively looks at our plan out towards 2030, and you can see some of the dates on there. I just want to talk to a couple of these if I can. Stephanie talked about how the federal government and during the Bush administration put forward a program. We were one of the initial facilities that looked at how to use these different elements to manage congestion, and one of them happened to be variable tolling, which we put in place. Another one happened to be add more transit service. So we, with our partnership, bought coaches and 130 more trips across the 520 bridge. Van pool, carpool program went up. We applied the Smarter Highways, which is the picture in the bottom left. It's kind of European technology for managing speeds. We put that in place. We put also in the bottom right-hand area, hard to see, but we put in then electronic travel time signs to inform the drivers how long each of these facilities you might go on is going to be. Then you make your choice as to which one you got. So more information out to the drivers. So we were fortunate with this, and we combined this then with the idea of replacing the corridor and how to finance $1 billion for revenue, and took those two together. As I mentioned, in December of 11, we opened it up. You can kind of see in the map there, Seattle. Lake Washington is a major lake for us, about 30 miles long. 2 floating bridges going across it, 520 being the northerly bridge. All electronic tolling, no toll booths anywhere. It's going to be electronic. Even if you're out of state, we'll do a pay by mail. Look up your license plate, send you a bill, go forward. We're getting about 95% return on our revenues within 80 days, and the last 5% we've got to go pursue them. But that's not doing too bad. Pre-completion tolling, meaning we paid about $170 million to Tacoma Narrows Bridge just in interest rates and capitalized interest. So pre-completion tolling, put tolling out there first. Public knows you're going to be rebuilding the corridor like it did, and we sold it to the public. We thought this was going to be a huge issue. It's like your mortgage. If you could put more money down on your mortgage, your monthly payments are going to be less. And we said the same thing. You put more down, you're going to save $250 million. Your toll rates can be less if you go out there pre-completion tolling. And also with all electronic tolling, really high income area for us up in that area, but $250 million to put a toll plaza in. It's like, this doesn't make any sense at all. So we haven't done that. You can see some of the performance we've had as we're going forward with it. The bottom half I think is fascinating. 40% increase in transit ridership. Now we had increased buses going across. People have chosen to move over and take the bus on some trips, or they will decide to drive, depends up to them. 40% increase in van pools. So the mode, this is the biggest mode shift mechanism I've seen in my career. And when I hear about what you have here with rail and corridors, how that can work together, it seems like a pretty exciting area. The other thing we then got ourselves into was the overall Cross Lake. And I'll talk about I-90 in a moment. Right here, we showed about a 5% reduction in vehicle trips across the lake, including around the ends. And we've seen only about a 2% reduction in person trips, where people are just saying, I'm just going to stay on my side of the lake. So people are getting around, but we've seen that modal shift that's happened. The next big question we have, some of the legislators and some folks said, well, if you're going to toll 520 in the north end, you better toll I-90 to south end to make sure traffic's balanced and going forward. The legislature didn't do that. We're now doing environmental impact statement to look at tolling Interstate 90. This is a big darn deal. It's a big deal. Only in Virginia is the only other place they've had to interstate where they've actually put tolls back on it. And so they're working through that. I'm talking about all lanes, and so working through that. So we're in the process of looking at this, partly to manage traffic on I-90, to get better speed reliability on it, to rebalance traffic between 520 and I-90. But also that 520 corridor, as I mentioned to you, still has a $1.4 billion hole in its financing, so it's a little of a challenge. And so one of the ways we looked at is, could you get tolling on I-90 to move over to 520, and the legislature treat this as a single corridor and manage it as a single corridor. So those are some of the policy areas that we're working with right now. The next area I want to go to is Interstate 405. I got the impression New Haven down towards New York is about 50 miles. This is about a 40-mile corridor that we have on the east side of Seattle, on the east side of Lake Washington. The idea is to have 2 express toll lanes and 3 general purpose lanes next to it. We tested this. What if you did all highway? We tested it. What if you did all light rail? What if you tested we did all bus rapid transit? The best solution came into, if you put 2 express toll lanes in there, that's sustainable capacity. That capacity will be there into the future. 3 general purpose lanes remain, so you had general purpose lanes, they stay there. You have a choice now whether you want to use it for that trip. If you need to get to SeaTac for that airport flight, you may want to use the express toll lanes, because the variability in traffic here is great. That middle section, that yellow section is 13 miles long. If you're doing 60 miles an hour, it should take you 13 minutes. There's sometimes once a month that can take you 60 minutes to do that. So that variability of that trip, and so it's one of the reasons we're looking at that sustainable capacity and giving people a choice. We're working on the funding of this, and in a year from now, we'll be opening up the north half of 405, and we still have yet to fund the south half. Our legislature is looking at some possibilities, and we think that tolling could contribute about $500 million towards that investment. Just some quick principles in our experience, and maybe something you should consider. You've got to demonstrate value to the user. They're your customer. Are they getting something out of this? Are they getting something there for their price? Are they getting reliability? Are they getting time? But you have to have a value statement. It's like a business. Whether the proposed uses of the revenue are compelling, why are you collecting money, and what are you going to do with it? And is there any other choices regarding that? I will also say toll accountability for each facility. It's interesting in our state, we have an 18th Amendment to our state constitution. It says gas tax has to go to transportation and highways. There's a firewall. Our legislature passes a general fund, a capital budget, and a transportation budget. They do not cross. So that's been a protection we've had for years. And then the toll dollars are actually into a treasurer, a separate fund in the Treasury for every facility. So we do not even move money from one toll facility to another toll facility. That firewall is in place. Fairness, you'll hear in tolling, it's always fairness, fairness, fairness. It's the perception of fairness, having information on fairness, how do you do it? Even some of the cities say, I like the tolling, but I don't want to be first. So there's a question of fairness and equity there. State of the economy, we walked into 167 hot lanes, the economy tanked, gas prices went up, and it's still been successful even with that in the forecast that we've had. So, but you need to think about that. Credibility of the agency itself, the Department of Transportation, credibility of the quality of customer service, and something that I know is not talked about here, but all of our panel members will say this, it is a big deal to set up a customer service center. It is a big deal, and because now you're dealing with daily per individuals, their accounts, their money, how good are you treating them as a customer. Evolving federal policies, right now we sit very well. The current administration is talking even further, and Secretary Fox is talking about how tolling can now be used and so forth. So currently looks good, but we're also subject to where the federal government's going to go. And then political leadership. Again, having a champion, seeing benefits, being able to articulate those benefits, being able to then bring it around. I will also say a lot of our political leadership has come from the local level, where those in the corridor see benefits. We work with committee structures. They bring that back up to those in Olympia, our legislature, and then you start to get some consensus then at the legislature. So having that political leadership is always important. And with that, that would be my quick tour, you might say, of the Seattle area.